get to it.
How much work is Josh Dobbs putting in during the week here? He's always having like 3 meals a week or a day at the facility preparing for these games.
Yeah, welcome to our world. No, I mean, it's hard to say how much he's doing outside of this building, but when he's in here, he's, we've got really a couple rooms where the quarterbacks can go, and he's always in there. So, I think as great as this has been for us to get him, I mean, he also understands this is a part of his career and an opportunity for him as well to, show that he belongs, and the way he's performed, he's certainly shown that the last couple of weeks.
It seemed like TJ's big day, obviously, mostly in that second quarter, starting with that play where he carried like 5 or 6 guys to the goal line there. Did that play kind of show the coaching staff at all that he could play through that injury, and did that kickstart things, or is that reading too much into it?
No, I think it shows the toughness, what kind of grit he has. As tough as he was in game 2 games ago when he suffers the injury, sometimes, guys can they have the adrenaline. It just, they can fight through something that week. But then when it all wears off and now you start feeling it through the week, and to go back into another game and say, all right, we're going to pad it up and do what we can, knowing that he's going through a lot of pain. Sometimes I think it's even more impressive to play the next week with an injury like that, especially with 2, ribs that he's dealing with. So, but he actually practiced, well during the week, and his attitude it is what it is, which is not everyone's attitude with those types of things, but that shows what kind of guy he is.
So I think a couple of the offensive linemen said that in the middle of the game they started to introduce a spy. The Saints did. How much does that, I don't know, if it's complicate things for you guys / provide you guys different avenues and tools to use maybe moving forward?
Well, the spy is generally pretty close to the line of scrimmage, at least for them it was. And what it does do is it's one less guy rushing and one less guy in coverage, really looking for other types of routes. So, it can be a benefit for you. And there was a snap where Josh ran for, it wasn't one of the big gains, but ran for some yards when they did have a spy on him. So I remember, Mike Vick, everyone tried to spy him, but none of the spies could catch him. So it's almost, you got to be good with who's spying him as well, to make sure that they can kind of keep him corralled. And I know they had a rush plan. They talked about it throughout the week of trying to keep him in the pocket, and just shows what kind of athlete Josh can be, and where he escaped a couple times there and made some yards for us. And of course that touchdown was really impressive.
How exciting is the idea of having Justin, who assumes so much coverage, and then potentially having a spy in the middle to have to follow Josh Dobbs, and to think about the possibilities with defenses trying to cover all of it?
Yeah, I think it'll be difficult with Justin there, with some of the doubles that he inevitably gets throughout games where you're trying to take away a great player like Justin. It's hard to do it. And, if you rush 3 or less, you got a chance to still have that extra guy in there, but then you're not getting home. And I think we've shown that we have enough other players, skill players that can win, and we have an offensive line that can pass protect and let us kind of get through some progressions.
Did Josh's speed surprise you, like when you first saw him, to what you could see in game? I just think that touchdown, it looked like the guy had an angle, and then it was just gone.
Yeah, that was a nickel defensive back. I mean, and he just kind of gave him one little step and outran him. Yeah, it surprised me really in Atlanta. I mean, he was running away from people, and I kind of mentioned, like, I maybe underestimated how good an athlete he was, because there's just not that many quarterbacks. There's some very athletic guys, but there's not many guys that kind of pull away from NFL players. And so sorry for underestimating him, but I'm happy that he's faster than I thought.
At what point on that score did you say, oh, yeah, he's got that?
I don't know if I thought he had anything. I mean, they covered it. They covered it pretty well. The concept that we had may have been a small window for kind of one of our progressions, and then he starts to go forward and then goes back and spins around, and then it didn't look like he would have the edge. And like I said, a DB out there is generally and a good athlete. Taylor's a good athlete, and he just has enough to him where he was able to get him to freeze just briefly, and that was enough for him to get to the front pylon.
With Jordan Addison, what have you seen, I guess, from Justin Jefferson and how he's assisted with Addison? Jordan was talking about yesterday that he comes to the sideline and Jefferson will make observations and things. I guess, what have you seen from the way that Jefferson has impacted Addison while he's been out?
Well, I think it's a combination, probably. I can't really speak to exactly how much or what Justin is telling him half the time, but I do know that he's been a pro since he stepped in this building. Really, both Justin and Jordan, but from my experience, being with Jordan as a rookie, to come in, he's been a sponge. He's, for my money, he's got the best receiver coach in the league, and I know Keenan has been a big influence on him as well. A guy who's kind of gone through every little bit of what all these guys, no matter where they are in their career, when he played for 17 years, did it at a high level, did it with different roles at different times to continue to play in this league. So kind of understands every facet of every one of these guys, where they're at, and then the personal part of it as well. Just managing, being a famous athlete and all those types of things. I know he's a great mentor. But, yeah, Jordan's just been a pro. He's a sponge. He absorbs everything. Not a ton of feedback. But I feel like we're getting him to open up a little bit. So that's been good.
How did Jalen Naylor handle going from, obviously, that absence to a full workload?
Thought he handled it really well. He had the one catch for 16 yards, but there were some other plays where he got separation, and you could see that he was winning on some routes, and just kind of the way the game goes sometimes doesn't always find you, but we do look at that, and I know the quarterbacks look at that when they're watching tape as to who's winning out there and who's creating separation. And he had some really nice routes in the game. It was good just coming off an injury to kind of get back in there, perform, no setbacks, that can give you confidence going into next week.
How do you view just the backfield if Madison can't play? Obviously, neither guy, Wong or Chandler, is all that experienced. I guess, how do you kind of view them taking on that role?
They're going to have to get experienced real fast. But again, I loved seeing Ty get some carries. Kane, both of them have some juice where they, felt a little different than each other, and then Alex had some really strong runs on the inside where wasn't a whole lot there, where he found a crease and kind of bowled forward and got us some good gains. I thought overall the offensive line picked up in the run game and showed some improvements there, but those two backs, they're really talented guys, and the more reps they get, the more comfortable they'll get. Kane has, maybe even a different element than, Ty's really fast, but Kane, when he hit the edge there, I think, you could kind of feel all their guys say, oh, oh man, you know, he was outrunning their angles. So that was exciting. And again, Kane's been a guy who hadn't played a lot this year and coming off an injury. So I think that'll give him some confidence as well going in. I think those guys will be ready.
How important has CJ's role as like a pass protector on some of the late downs been, especially with how much you guys probably spent implementing that in the offseason?
I'm glad you asked that, just so I could just say how appreciative I am of not only him, but Alex has had a lot of good, not only blitz pickups where it's your guy. Between him and CJ, some of the things that aren't as publicized, them stepping up, guys are twisting, guys are moving, and they're getting an edge on a guy and coming up and firming it up and really striking guys and making sure that we have that extra click to throw the ball or get through a read or progression. Those guys have been really, really good all year, and particularly CJ on some of those third downs. But I mean, Alex picked up a defensive tackle in this past game, allowed us to make a play. So they're tough. They're really smart. They understand what we're trying to do. They understand the calls, and then between them and the O-line, the communication's been really good up front. Thank you.